dressing up like Fred Astaire. That pose.
The announcement of the 62nd Heisman Memorial Trophy winner. Once again, we at ESPN are proud to present the Heisman Trophy Show to you, presented by Wendy's. I'm Chris Fowler. I'll be joined by Lee Corso, Kirk Herbstreit, and Mike Adamle in the next hour. But the real stars of the evening are seated down front here. Based on the voting, our 4 Heisman finalists. And for the first time since 1981, 2 of the previous year's 5 finalists have rejoined us. First up, Iowa State's Iron Man, Troy Davis. 2,000 yards times 2, the first to rush for that magic milestone twice. Danny Werfel, Florida's senior quarterback, 3rd in last year's voting. All those records, those SEC rings, those awards, all that humility. Jake Plummer, ASU's senior quarterback, Mr. Everything, whatever it took to get the Sun Devils to the Rose Bowl at 11-0. He provided. And Orlando Pace, the junior left tackle for Ohio State, considered perhaps the best ever at his position. Helped the Buckeye Eddie George get to this podium last year. A nice round of applause for all 4 1996 Heisman Trophy finalists. Over 2,000 yards. All 4 won this award, but none of them accomplished what Troy Davis has done. The only 2,000-yard sophomore followed up an even better junior year. TD stands for touchdowns. 21 of them stands for tattooed dude. Almost as many of them. We'll visit with the next Heisman finalist right after this. For the 2nd consecutive season, Troy Davis has taken the road less traveled to this room tonight on a team fighting to turn it around. His has been a career of tough decisions, but few regrets. But when it comes to this Heisman finalist play, TD has still another meaning: totally determined.
Built like a rock, Troy Davis never stopped rolling. Against defenses designed purely to stop him, Davis gamely pounded away for 17 straight 100-yard efforts, absorbing far more hits than other backs, playing through the pain of a 2-9 season, single-handedly outrushing 83 Division I-A teams. TD scored all but 4 of the Cyclones' rushing TDs. Only Barry Sanders and Marcus Allen rushed for more yards in a season, and no one has run for more in back-to-back years, including these 4 Heisman winners, almost 2.4 miles.
A great player, also a great recruiter. Troy's little brother Darren joining him in Iowa City, and or I should say Ames, and I know Cyclone coach Dan McCarney appreciates that. He's with Lee.
Dan, you know, Troy has those 2,000 yards, 2 straight years. No one in the history of college football has ever done it. What makes this guy such a great running back?
Well, I'll tell you, Lee, you know, been with him 2 years now, has not missed 1 practice, hadn't missed a game, hadn't missed a snap in any of the competition that we've had. He's a phenomenal competitor every single day.
When did you discover he had this competitive instinct that I just think is tremendous?
Well, really, honestly, the first day that we took the job and saw him in spring practice 2 years ago, and he's a phenomenal football player, explosive, and, you know, besides the history and the yards and all the great things he's done, he's one of the classiest kids I've ever been around. He gives to our community, gives back to our fans, and it's a great mark of the type of young man he is.
You know, the perception is sometimes that, you know, you were out of some ball games and Troy made yardage when the game was over. What's your feeling about that?
Well, when in fact most of those games that we lost this year, a lot of close ones, about 6 of them went to the wire. They went close. They were very close games right to the end of the game, and we went right to the wire, 49-42 with Colorado, top 10 team. You're not going to see a lot of substitutes on the field in close games like that, so he did it against the best.
Troy Davis, one of the best ever, Chris.
That's right. His coaches know, but maybe Troy Davis's opponents know better. You ask those players from Colorado and Nebraska and Kansas State, good defenses, they'll tell you, Kirk, he's the real thing.
Well, they should know. They get a chance to see him quite a bit. 402 carries on the season, an average of 36 a game. What do you feel like in the morning after a day like that?
Well, that's hard to say. You know, I feel real good. You know, it don't seem like, you know, I've been punished that much, but you know, I've been watching tapes over and over, and I've been seeing how many times I got hit. You know, that's just I be watching tapes and saying, oh, I mean, I got hit that hard and stuff like that. So you know, it doesn't bother me. I get in the whirlpool after that. You know, get relaxed, and I'm ready for the next game.
Now, last year you came out of nowhere, had the 2,000 yards, a Heisman finalist. This year, everybody was geared up for you. You were kind of a target. You had a huge bullseye in your chest. Was it different preparing for the pressure for this year?
You know, it's always different, you know, preparing for games, because I know that defense is going to kill me. They say, you know, number 20 going to get the ball. So I got to be prepared, you know, to get hit every play, and that's what, you know, I go in the game thinking that, you know, I got to go out there and do this, and that's what I do.
You know, you just heard your coach comment on the perception by some around the country that Troy Davis gets some yards when his team is, as a matter of fact, out of the game. How do you feel about that as the player?
Just like my coach say, you know, we've been in most of every one of these games except for 3 of them, I think. You know, that was a blowout. But you know, the rest of them, you know, we just hung in there. And mostly, I got my yards like in the second and third quarter. So it ain't like no fourth quarter because I barely get the ball in the fourth quarter.
Here's the thing. I think everybody in America wants to know: back-to-back 2,000 yards. Is there a chance to see back-to-back-to-back?
That's a maybe. Maybe.
Maybe that's
just a maybe. You know, I got like you know, a lot of stuff in mind. I want my parents and you know the coach gonna talk about it after the season, and we just go on from there.
Okay. Good luck to you.
All right. Thanks.
All right, Chris.
If not by one Davis, then maybe by another Davis, as that tattoo in his arm says. Perhaps enough said. The numbers of the only running back among the top 4 Heisman vote getters, and really a great year statistically for running backs. It would have been nice if more college football fans been able to see more of the runs that led to these numbers. Troy was a good reason to buy a satellite dish.